Hi everybody, my name is Isa, and in this video I'm going to break down how to make a bowl. So I'm going to use a little less than 1.5 pounds. Using more clay is easier than using a small amount of clay. So try 1 pound, try a little bit more, maybe 1.5. First break it down from the front angle, and then I'm going to show you from a side angle and a top view. So stick around for those. I'll leave some timestamps. Thanks for watching. Throwing is all about body stability. So I'm throwing on a standing wheel, but you're probably going to be throwing on a sitting wheel. You're probably going to be sitting while you're throwing. So first things first is your chair needs to be stable. Sometimes there's those rolly chairs, and those are a little difficult because if you're really getting into it, you can roll back and you want to be stable. So make sure your seat is stable. Okay? Next, I'm going to push my seat all the way up because the main thing is if you're stable, your piece is going to be stable. All the way up here, my thighs are around my wheel head and my elbows are going to be on my thighs. And my feet are flat on the ground. With a lot of beginners, what I'll see is they'll have their foot resting on the pedal, and what that kind of creates is when you're focusing and you're centering or you're raising the walls, you'll go faster and then you'll go slower and then faster and slower. And so just to eliminate that whole thing, get to a speed that you really like and then kick this pedal away and have your feet flat on the floor. My nose is over the center, I'm super close to my wheel, my thighs are around the wheel head, feet are flat on the ground, my elbows are always on my thighs, okay? And you'll see throughout when I throw, I'll have some type of hand connection, and that is key, because if you're throwing and you're only, using one hand to do something, that's way less stable than two hands. One hand on the piece, connected to your other hand that holds the tool. I want to show you this diagram that I've made, and this is if we're going to cut the clay in half, right? So first step is centering, and in centering we have coning and compression. And step number 2, we're poking the hole. So we're poking the hole, we're leaving a little bit at the bottom, right? This is the bottom. We don't want to go any further. And then step number 3 is dragging out, and that is where we follow this, poking the hole, and we're just going to drag the bottom, and that is going to make the bottom of our piece, right? Parallel to the bat. Step number 4, we're going to raise the walls. You can see my little diagram of fingers of what the finger guns are doing. And then details. So these are the 4 steps. So I'm going to use a bat. You can throw directly on this wheel. You want to get the ball of clay into a ball because rounded throwing down onto the bat will kind of throw all of the air bubbles versus a flat won't be as good as a seal, and there might be some air bubbles stuck underneath the clay, between the clay and the bat. You want to make sure that when you're throwing it on that this is going to be rounded. Some people will even kind of go like this to make it more of a point. That works too. So I'm going to find the center, just going to smack it down. And you can, before you even start, you can take your hand and just kind of pat it down. If this was like a little bit off, I would kind of just push it more into center. And then this helps a lot of beginners, which is, I call this tulipping, and this just helps make sure that it's on your bat. So I'm going to start the wheel. With centering, you want to go faster, and as you go through the steps, you'll go slower and slower. So we're going to get our hands wet, and I'm going to make a diamond. So my diamond, and I'm going to squeeze. I'm going to squeeze here and here, so here and here, and I'm going to squeeze like this. I'm not pushing, I'm squeezing, okay? So I'm going to squeeze, 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 pushing my fingers into the bottom of my hand, and I'm going to make it into a cone. So we're on step number 1, which is centering. And in centering, we have 2 things to do. We have coning and we have compression. So we're going to cone it up and then we're going to compress it down. And this is probably the most important part of the process because this sets you up for the other steps. So we're gonna cone it up, just like this. We're gonna hold it, and I'm going to compress. My left hand is going to be on the side, pressing in sideways, and my right hand is going to be karate chopping down. And remember, we want some type of hand connection. So I'm going to connect like this. Okay? So coning was like this, and I was connecting here, and then compression is like this. So I'm pressing down with my karate chop hand, and I'm pressing in with my side hand. And you can see my karate chop hand is not 100%. It's actually 50%. It's from the middle to the end. And this is pressing in. So let's try that from the side. Pressing it down, holding it, and slowly releasing. So I do have to say, you're pressing down more than you're pressing in. And that's kind of what makes it into this hockey puck. But you're still, remember, you're still pressing in. This is what happens if you don't press in. I'm going to show you. So remember, diamond. And we're going to squeeze it up. Okay? A lot of beginners, what they'll do is they'll kind of like try, you have to put some oomph into it. Remember, I said you're fully center. You're center with yourself, you're center to your thighs, you're center to the ground, and you're over the center with your nose, okay? If you're center, the piece will be center. That's why a lot of people will be like this, but remember, elbows on your thighs, because if you're like this, not so stable. So this wheel is going counterclockwise, because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, you can switch the wheel to be left, going clockwise, and you'll just switch the hands. So you'll use this and then this, right? So why do I say that use this hand to press in versus this hand when it's going counterclockwise? It's easier when the clay is coming at you for centering versus away from you. This is compression without pressing in enough, okay? With this hand, I'm not gonna press in as much. I'm gonna show you on like this, okay? Do you see how there's like this little dollop thing? That's not good. And that means that I'm not pressing in enough with this hand. I wasn't pressing in at all. Okay, this mushroom happens because you're not pressing in with your side. So let's do that again when I'm compressing with my side. You can see you can see my hand is making it, and you can also see where it is touching making contact with my hand, okay? So another thing I want to touch on, and I go super in depth with centering in my other video, I'll link it above and below, but if I fully made this flat, and now you'll watch, when I squeeze this up, it's a volcano. There's a crater in there. And that is because when I went to go compress, I compressed it flat. Now, you don't want to compress it flat until you're ready to go to the next step, which is poking the hole, okay? If you make it flat and then you go to cone it again, you'll get that crater. So how to not get the crater is when you're compressing, make sure that this side hand is at a little bit of an angle so that you create a little bit of a mountain, okay? And that'll make it so that when you cone it back up, you won't get the crater, okay? I'm going to show you one more time centering from this angle. So I'm compressing down, pressing in, and I'm making contact. Elbows on my thighs. Hold it and slowly release. Why do I say hold it and slowly release? Because if I fast release, look at that. There's a little bit of a wiggle. That's why with everything on the wheel, you want to go slow. Slowly release, okay? So we just centered, and now we're going to poke the hole. And I'm going to take my right hand, I'm going to make kind of like this little hook I'm going to take my left hand, I'm going to make contact, right? I'm going to stabilize myself with both hands. So I'm going to hold my wrist with my left. Take some water, finding the center. Remember, you're over the center, your body, resituate yourself. Find the middle and go down really slowly. 1 tick, 2 tick. Remember, this wheel is going in a circle. And if this is too fast for you, go a little bit slower, but don't go too slow. A lot of students, they'll think going slower is better, so they'll go like this slow. It's actually hurting you, okay? Go a little bit faster because the idea is if I start with my hand here, I have to get back to this before I can go a little bit lower. So this is with anything on the wheel. 1 tick, 2 tick, 3 tick, okay? That's why you want to go really slow sometimes, even when like we're gonna be at step number 4 with like pulling the walls. You want to go slow, because remember, it's a tick, 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 okay? So we're going back to this, okay? Holding my wrist, stabilize over the center, and going down. But remember, you don't want to go all the way because we're making a hole. This is going to be the bottom of your piece, right? This is the bottom. You don't want to go any lower. This will be the bottom of your piece. So how do we tell? I take a needle tool, one hand, that's all you need. Take it and poke it into the hole. Take your hand, one hand, take your finger, and you're going to place the finger at the bottom, hold the needle tool, and pull it all out. Pull it out all as one. So now you can see this is telling me that this portion is where that's how much clay I have left, this portion right here. So that's a little trick. That's about, let's see, about 0.5, yeah. So that's about 1/2 inch, okay? So that's perfect. So this is the bottom. We don't want to go any lower. We just finished step number 2. Now we're going to go to step number 3, which is dragging out, okay? So I'm going to keep this hand configuration, hook, hand hold with the left. Remember, in with the body, it's tight. I'm using my body for stability. My elbows are on my thighs. I'm straight to the ground. Set your speed, take your foot off, okay? Remember, set your speed, take your foot off. So what I'm gonna do, have this hook, all I'm going to do is pull directly to my belly button. I'm not going up, I'm not going down. Remember, this is the bottom. We don't want to go any lower, right? This is the bottom of our piece. I'm just gonna go straight out. And so if I'm centered here, how far will I drag out? That's dictated by where I centered. You don't want to drag out too far because then it'll start to droop. You drag out to where you centered. If you go too far, it's gonna droop, and then that's gonna create a weak point. All right, so hook, hold, straight to my belly button. My nose is over the center. I'm going slow. You can see I'm going slow. I'm making sure I have enough water. I'm not catching. If you don't have enough water and you feel your hands catching, that's when you need water. So don't be afraid to use water. And as you get better and better with practice, then you can kind of use less water. But don't be afraid. So I pulled to about there, and I'm going to stop. Because if I pull too much, that's when my piece will fall. Now we have to compress. If you have ever experienced an S crack, where it's a crack on the bottom of your piece in the shape of an S, that means either you didn't compress enough the bottom or you left water there. So if I'm throwing and at any time I see that there's water in the bottom of my piece, make sure that you go take your sponge and you take it all out, because the water will slowly degrade the clay back into mud. Taking my sponge, or you can take your finger, and remember, connection, and I'm just going to go back and forth on this line right here, or you can go towards you too. I'm not gonna do this way. You can, it's just easier when the clay is going through you at this point. I wanna break this down a little bit more. So after centering, a rule I tell my students is if this is you and this is the wheel and it's going counterclockwise, we're going to only focus on this area. You can do anything here. Try it out. try going over here. It'll feel a little bit odd, and it's not as smooth because the clay is coming at you versus the clay is going away from you. So that's why I say focus here, and we're working in this quarter. So what you can also do is take a rib. I'm gonna use this small one. Connection. I'm holding this piece, I'm holding this at a kind of like a 45-degree angle so that the clay will go through this, right? So I'm working on this portion of the wheel, right? The right quarter, and I'm going to compress and make it nice and pretty and flat. And this just compresses it more, makes it prettier and flatter, helps to take out all those little bumps, right? All right, perfect. Now we're going to go to step number 4, which is raising the walls. So what I'm going to do first, before I even start, is I'm just going to press this in. And you can do that a number of ways. You can just kind of collar it in so it's a little more like a volcano. Creating a volcano before you even start helps you because you'll notice you'll want to veer out, right? But you have to train yourself to go in. So you're pulling towards your heart, towards your nose, okay? If you keep pulling out, you're gonna get too wide, and the only thing you could probably make is a bowl. So if you wanna get to like a vase and stuff, pulling straight up into a cylinder is key. I say finger guns, and we're going to connect here, right? And I'm going to have my outer fingers lower than my inner fingers. So I'm gonna be connected. This is what it's gonna look like. These are lower than these, right? So it's gonna be like this. Lower, higher. Okay? All right. So I'm going to take my hands like this, right? And I'm going to be directly over, and I'm going to pull up and hold it and slowly release. It's kind of equal pressure. You're not going like thinner. You're trying not to go, squeeze it in different spots. You're trying to be equal pressure and go up very slowly. You can see my finger marks. If I go up too fast, you'll see. You can see now it's out of whack. It's a little bit wonky, right? So that's why, remember, 1, 2, 3, tick, tick, tick. You want to go slow, okay? This is key. So let's try that again. Finger guns. I'm going to really dig in right here to get all this clay. There's a lot of clay down there. And I'm going to dig in with my fingers, bring it up to my other ones, and now they're following each other, right? But they're not meeting, they're just following. Get to about a 1/2 inch to the top, hold it, slowly release. So why do I say get to a 1/2 inch and then slowly release? Why do I say not go all the way? Because I see a lot of beginners, what they'll do, I have some water down there. You can see, even when I did that, I had my hand connection. What a lot of beginners will do is they'll kind of go, and then pinch at the top. And that creates not the best lip. So I like to say leave the lip to the very end. So get to about a 1/2 inch, hold it, slowly release. Remember, don't fast release. Okay, so if that is not clicking for you, it is difficult at first, it takes a bit. I like to think of the finger guns method as like truly basic. That's how I learned, and I kind of grew my technique from that, but that gives you a basis of like, okay, this is what you're doing, okay? But if that is not clicking for you and you want to try a different way, I'm going to show you this way. So you're gonna have a high five hand, and we're going to be using this right here, the palm of our hand, right? We're making connection. You can see, making connection, and this is going to be finger guns again, right? And so what I'm going to do, connection here, is I'm going to have this hand on the outside pressing in, and this hand on the inside pressing in, and we're going to go up slowly, right? Hold it, slowly release. Now, this is good for like the beginning, but it doesn't give you as much control as your fingertips, okay? So practice this, get the speed down, and then I want you to graduate to the finger guns, okay? And I know the finger guns are going to be difficult. I remember struggling. You just gotta keep practicing and you'll get it, okay? So what is happening with the finger guns is you're pressing in a little bit and you're pressing in a little bit, equal pressure, going up slowly, and the clay is kind of moving through your hands, getting pulled towards your nose, towards your heart, right? You're making it into a cylinder first, right? We're going to be making it into a bowl, I promise. And as we're doing that, it's being pulled up, okay? So there's a lot more clay down here, and I want to get it, but it's a little bit difficult. This is what we can do. I take our wooden knife, hold it with 2 hands. I'm on my thighs, I'm stable, and I'm going to pick a spot, and I'm going to go directly down. I'm not going in, you can, but you know, for this, I'm not. I'm gonna go straight down. This is kind of like the sharp end, so I'm going to point that towards the wheel so I can cut the clay, right? I'm gonna hold it, be stable, and cut it like that. You can stop the wheel, hold it with 2 hands, cut this, hold it tight, take all that out. And what this is doing is it's making it easier for this outer hand to take that clay and bring it up to the inner hand, right? What I want you to try to do now is we got a pretty good height and we're kind of on the thicker side, right? We want to maybe do like 2 to 3 pulls. I'm going to do the finger guns, but instead of going into my heart, right, going towards my nose, I'm going to go out and then up, directly up, right? Not out, go directly up. So we're going to already start making the shape. Okay, so finger guns, and we're gonna go out and then directly up. Hold it, slowly release. Alright, so we can keep going with that, or we can take our rib, have connection. I'm gonna be kind of at like a 45 like this, the same thing. The clay is gonna go through me. I'm going to apply pressure on this side, right, the right side, and I'm just going to press out. That's all you need. Pressure on the inside, that's all you need. Start from the bottom and slowly make my way out. I might have made this a little too thin, I forgot we were making a bowl. Alright, so I kind of have a shape, but I'm going to pull one more time, and I'm going to pull out. There's a little bit more clay right there, and then I'm going to pull up. You can also take your rib and you're applying pressure inside, but only where the rib meets the finger, so you're not doing like this, it's more like this. So your finger is directly where the rib is, and you're applying pressure like that to make it nice and flat, right? The most important thing is the inside, because the outside should mimic the inside, or should mirror the inside. So we're going to hold this. I'm going to make it nice and pretty. Compressing. Going up. Remember, all you need is pressure on the inside. I want it to be shorter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle tool. I'm going to kind of hold it like this, whatever feels comfortable for you, connection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off a piece of this, right? I'm going to take it off. So it's going to be like this. Tick, 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 until I reach my hand, and then we're either going to stop the wheel or just pull up, right? Okay. So going a little bit slower. I'm picking a spot. And I'm not moving from that spot. You want to pick a spot where there's clay all around so you can get an equal cut. You don't want to pick a spot where if this lip was a little jagged, I'll get some clay, I won't get some clay. You know what I mean? You want to pick a spot that has clay. So you can go up there, down here. I'm going to go down here because that's where I want it. And go slowly until I reach my finger. And then I'm going to lift up. Okay, if that's too scary, you can go even slower, but remember, if you go slower with the wheel, that means that you have to go slower with your in, right? So just keep that in mind. Now we have our piece, but this lip is jagged. My eye is first going to look at the lip when I'm looking at a bowl, or anything, any piece of pottery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress, having my 2 hands like this, connection, and my sponge on top. I'm going to compress it down. I'm not really pressing down too hard, and I'm not pressing in too hard. It's just kind of letting the clay move, and then you can move these up here. Final step is detailing. I can make it a little bit smoother. If we wanted it out more, all you need is either your hand, remember connection, and I'm just going to press it out, or you can take your rib and you can just kind of press it out. But remember, we're only really working on this quarter of the wheel. So if this was like that, we're only working here. To make it easier to take it off and to trim, we're going to take our wooden knife and I'm going to hold it with two hands. I'm going to make it flat. I'm just going to go in from the side and just take off a little bit. You can see I made a little notch, and that's going to be easier for me to take my wire and just wire that off, okay? So now we have this pot. It looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. If you want, you can create a spout or you can leave it as is. So I'm going to take this wire, have my hand flat. I'm going to go with my wheel just a little bit. You want to go a little bit because it'll make a more even cutoff than if you had it stagnant. So my thumbs are flat and I'm going to slowly drag it towards my belly button. This is similar to when we did the drag out, the third thing. So I'm going to compress first just to make sure that it's on the wheel head, and then I'm going to cone up. So remember diamond, and I'm squeezing into a cone, and then I'm going to connection, right? Side in, pressing down more than I'm pressing in, and these two are following each other. This hand is not down here while this hand is up here, right? They're following each other. This hand, we're only working with this top portion of the piece, of the puck, and we're moving it down, right? So only focus on this top portion here. Move that right down. And this means that I'm just off on the side, right? We want to make sure that we're in center. So I'm going to cone again. Side, top. Remember, not down here. There's no space up here. This hand is from the middle to the end. Pressing in. And you can always stop and reassess and re-wet your hands. Hold it and slowly release. So we have a little bit of a foot here. I'll take my hand, take that off. Make sure that's it. Perfect. Now I'm going to take a hook, hand over the center. Just go directly down. Hold it, and slowly release. My wheel tool. Directly to your belly button. Hold it and slowly release. I centered here. I'm just going to pull out to a little bit more in. Maybe that's probably like an inch. Take our sponge and we're just going to go back and forth on this line right here or towards your belly. Remember, we're only working on here. So take our rib, use that, go back and forth a couple times, or you can use your fingertips, go back and forth a couple times. Alright, perfect. Now we're going to compress it a bit, or color it, I mean, into a cone. And remember, you can either do this way, and I'm kind of using my hand, there's my connection, applying pressure with both, slowly to the top, hold it, slowly release. You can always compress this lip, that's a good practice to do. Alright, or you can do the finger guns, right? Hold it and slowly release. And I want you to first, when you first try, don't even apply pressure. Just do the motion of going slowly, but don't apply pressure, right? And then I want you to apply equal pressure all the way up, okay? So now that I'm like this, I'm going to drag out, do the bowl shape, right? Out and up. So I'll kind of show you that. Slower with my wheel, going a little too fast. Okay. Out, and then I'm going to go directly up. Hold it and slowly release, okay? So we kind of got a bowl shape, but I didn't want it to be a little bit shorter, so I'm going to take my needle tool. I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to take it, and I'm just going to go slowly in, which is my finger, and then I'm going to lift up. Okay? Alright, so now we have to compress, right? And so I'm going to have my two hands, like there are two fingers here, my sponge on the top. You can also just, you know, compress like that, but not with this hand. With this hand, I mean, just kind of, I'll do it like this. Is probably easier to see, actually. And now we're going to compress that lip to make it nice and pretty, so I can knock down those sides, and then I can do the top. Okay? Take my, and I'm having it like this, right? Let me show you this way. This way. Connection with my hands, and I'm applying pressure at the bottom, making it nice and pretty, and then I'm going to go on the side, but I'm still having this kind of angle, right? Because I want the clay to go through. And I'm pressing out. Slowly let the clay catch up. You see how I like kind of moved it and it was like kind of lacking, but you have to let, you'll learn what the clay wants to do, so you'll have to let the clay will talk to you. I need a little bit more water. Remember, straight up to my nose. Alright, take all the water out, compress the lip maybe a little bit more. This is a thin bowl. I keep forgetting we're making bowls. Alright. So remember, being too thin is also not the best. So make it equal. So let's see. Now I'm going to take my wooden knife, hold it with two hands, and I'm just going to apply it right here, knocking off that bottom foot. You can see now there's like a little notch, and now that makes it super easy for me to wire it off. I'm gonna go slower. I'm gonna wire it off, but for the sake of this, I'm not gonna wire it off fully, so I'm gonna have this wheel stopped. And let's see how I did. Okay, this is what's happening when you're throwing. So this is lower, higher, go, 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 straight up, right? Okay, does that make sense? If it's like this, it's like this. Stay, stay. I'm really pressing in with this outside, bringing that up, and now they're kind of following each other. Hold it, and then slowly release, okay? Okay, let's do it one more time. You can see it from a different angle. I'm going to compress first, making sure that it's on. And then I'm going to squeeze diamond, right? Squeezing my fingers to my, what is that called? End of the hand, right? You don't need a huge cone, you just need a cone, right? Maybe I'll tuck that down just a bit. Okay, now on the top, karate chopping down, and on the inside, connection. Remember, we're not like this, we're up here. We're only focusing on this portion, we're pushing it down. All right. Equal pressure. Using my body, my elbows aren't in, they're on my thighs. Nice. Remember, don't make this flat, make it a little bit of a mountain. Okay, we're gonna compress on the top, on the side. We're gonna go down. All right, I'm gonna show you like this. Compress down. Hold it and slowly release. Okay? Now with a bowl, we want it to be a little bit wider, but wherever you center it, how wide you center it is going to kind of dictate. So if I was making a vase, I'd center it a little bit more narrower and taller, because I'm not going to make it a wide vase. Probably, you know, if I am, then, you know, you can do that, but I'm going to make it a little bit wider. Sometimes this little foot here will kind of cause a little bit of an issue, so you can always take it off with your fingers, or you can take it off with the wooden knife. Okay, so just like that, and slowly release. All right, now we're gonna do poking the hole. Find connection, find the center. My nose is over the center, head is over the center, and I'm just going directly down. Slowly release, okay? Stop the wheel, take our needle tool, poke the center, taking one hand, finger goes to the bottom, lifting it out. That's pretty shallow. So what we can do is I can take some of this clay and I can kind of push it into the center. I'm not like encapsulating it, I'm just kind of making it so it's pushed in just a little bit, and that should be good. All right. So what we can do is take our finger and knock that down just a tad. And now we're gonna go to step number 3, which is dragging out. Still same hand. And I'm just gonna pull directly to my belly button. Hold it, and slowly release. Remember, we centered here. We're gonna pull to about 1 inch away from the outside. Now this might be a little bit too thick. No, it's so fine. All right, now we're going to get our sponge. Remember, we're just making contact here. Get those compression, compress the bottom, no S cracks, make it nice and pretty. Back and forth, from the center to the right. If you're lefty, from the center to the left. If you're lefty and you're doing the opposite direction, I should say. Or if you're just doing the opposite direction. I shouldn't just, you know. Anyway, you get the gist. You can also use this, having it kind of at this angle, right? Clay is going through, holding it, connection, and going back and forth, slow and steady. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to color it in a bit. Perfect, we have a little bit of volcano. If you wanted to do this, it's like this, right? I'm going to show you this way because it's hard to see, right? And I'm dragging it up and I'm still going towards my nose, right? Hold it and slowly release. Or we can do the finger guns. I'm really digging into this outside and I'm bringing it up to my inner hand. Up, hold it, slowly release. Remember, we're leaving about 1/2 inch at the top We're not gonna touch the lip yet. We're doing that to the very end. Okay, so now I have it pretty high. This is kind of thin. So we're gonna go out and then up, right? Going in, digging into my hand, that's okay. Digging into my hand, and then we're going out, and then directly up. Hold it, slowly release. Let me show you over here. Out, and then up. Hold it, slowly release. Okay, we have some water in the middle, so we're gonna take that out. Gotta compress this lip. Remember, you can always compress the lip. You don't have to wait till the very end. And you can always stop, you know, stop halfway, pull, and then reassess, fix your hand, pull again, right? Okay, so now we're going to make this inside. I'm gonna do it over here so that you can see. And I'm going to have my hand, my rib like this so the clay goes through. 2 hands connection, and I'm going to apply it. I want this bottom, I want this piece to kind of mimic here, right? So I'm going to press that into the clay. That's why ribs are so nice, because they're just kind of already the shape that you want. Remember, all you need is from the inside pushing out. You don't need to touch the outside at all. Inside, pushing out. Hold it, slowly release. Just gonna clean up just a bit more. Hold it, slowly release. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to take my sponge once more. 2 fingers here, right? And then 1 on the top, making that nice and round. It's not good to put the piece to your lips if it has a jagged edge. I want it to be nice. Taking my knife, remember we're gonna help ourselves out in the future and make it a little bit easier to take this piece off when we skewer it. Okay, and that's looking like a nice bowl. I'm going to, before I take this out, I'm gonna show you how to make a spout. So I'm gonna take a little bit of water here, right? Get some water on your hands. Take my 2 hands, 2 fingers like this. My right hand, I'm going to go in the middle. I'm just going to go back and forth. And I'm dragging out as I go back and forth, back out. There we go. And you can also kind of, and you get better with time. That's the spout.